In today's video, we have some new NHL trade rumors to discuss, mainly focusing on the San Jose Sharks, the Ottawa Senators, the Columbus Blue Jackets, as well as the Philadelphia Flyers. We also have some other news and notes regarding some signings and PTOs to discuss as well. All that coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, we do have some more NHL trade rumors to discuss here today, as well as some other signings and PTOs as we head into NHL training camps opening up later here this week. Obviously, we already kicked off the morning here at the big news about the Max Pacioretty trade. Depending on whereabouts you live, you either got this news either really late last night or really early this morning. I already put out a video here today discussing and analyzing the Max Pacioretty trade to Vegas, so if you missed that video, there will be a link up in the YouTube cards. You can go check that out. But in this video, we're just talking about some other potential moves that could happen partially as a result of that trade. Before we jump into the trade rumors, let's cover up some of the signings and PTOs here first. The Montreal Canadiens have come to terms with restricted free agent center Michael McCarron on a one-year deal with an NHL salary value of $875,000. So this is a one-year, two-way contract. Obviously, McCarron will obviously have another opportunity here to make the NHL and see if he can stick with the Habs for the full season. He's been going back and forth here between the NHL and the AHL over the past couple of seasons. So they finally got him signed. Obviously, that's one of their RFAs. It's kind of been dragging on here all offseason, but he is finally looked after. The Detroit Red Wings have also come to terms with a restricted free agent forward Matt Puempel on a two-year deal worth around $675,000 annually. Matt Puempel was originally an RFA this year, but was not qualified, became a UFA, and has been sitting around all summer unsigned, but he has gone back to Detroit here and agreed to a two-year contract. Obviously, there's more than likely going to be a possibility here that Matt Puempel continues to play in the American Hockey League for the Red Wings, as they do have a lot of other younger prospects that have likely surpassed him here on their depth chart. And we also have a few other veteran players that have accepted some professional tryout agreements to go into training camp here. Dennis Seidenberg, formerly of the New York Islanders, is going to go to camp with them on a PTO as well. Obviously, the New York Islanders are considering re-signing the veteran defenseman. I would imagine if he does get a contract, it would only be a one-year deal. But obviously, they've had some losses this year and they had some holes to fill, so they are considering bringing back the veteran rear guard here for one more year. The New Jersey Devils are bringing back forward Drew Stafford on a professional tryout to their training camp as well. Obviously, Drew Stafford did play with New Jersey last season. He has kind of bounced around here over the past couple of years and had to go to camp on a few other occasions here on a professional tryout, but has done reasonably well extending his career for the past couple seasons. I would think that the odds of Stafford landing a job with the Devils are reasonably good here heading into training camp. Now that we have that out of the way, let's jump over here and discuss all the latest NHL trade rumors. Now, some of these rumors are kind of coming off the heels of the Pacioretty trade that just went down. Obviously, Vegas has been rumored and linked to a number of players in different teams here over the offseason. Looked like they were trying to make a major acquisition. Obviously, Max Pacioretty will cover up for some of their losses here, as they lost free agent forwards James Neal and David Perron in free agency. Obviously, they also signed Paul Stastny. So overall, I think they kind of leveled out and replaced some of the scoring they lost. But obviously, if you take a look at the Pacific Division where the Golden Knights play, a lot of the other teams in this division have made other moves and appear to have gotten better here over the offseason. The one team who's already pretty strong but hasn't been able to land anything major during this offseason to keep your eyes on here is the San Jose Sharks. Now, we've mentioned the San Jose Sharks multiple times here whenever we've had a lot of different trade rumors come up. They have also been linked to a lot of top players who have been on the market here. They were one of the teams chasing after John Tavares. They've been linked as well to players like Max Pacioretty and others. So will we see the San Jose Sharks here land a big move either before camp opens here within the next few days, possibly before the season opens by early October, or sometime early in the season? If you take a look around them in their division, obviously Vegas has made a lot of changes, some through free agency, now through trade. So obviously they're still a pretty strong contender in that division. You have the Los Angeles Kings that added Ilya Kovalchuk, so they've made their big move for the year. The Arizona Coyotes certainly appear to have improved a fair bit here. They've acquired Alex Galchenyuk earlier in the offseason for Max Domi. The Calgary Flames as well, who have made some pretty significant changes too. I mean, obviously they had a big trade, some good signings. So the Flames have certainly made an effort to retool their team for the upcoming year. You have the Oilers trying to bounce back. So obviously that division could be much stronger and much more difficult to get through in the 18-19 season than it was last year. So with all that in mind, the one team, like I said here, who hasn't made a move but has had multiple attempts is the San Jose Sharks. Now, the Sharks are already a pretty strong team, but they've been linked to a lot of other players and have yet to get something done. So with all these other teams in their division making moves around them, could we finally see a big move out of San Jose? Obviously, there's still a lot of big names on the trading block right now. You still have guys like Artemi Panarin, Erik Karlsson, who have not been traded as of yet. Could we see the San Jose Sharks try to lure one of them to their team to really give them an offensive boost as well? Obviously, they do have the assets, they have the cap space, they can certainly afford to take on one of these players for sure. And even though all has been somewhat quiet on those players recently, we very well could see the Sharks make a push here to acquire one of those top guys. I do think the Sharks are going to feel some urgency to make some kind of move, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if they're a little bit patient here. We may not see anything before camp opens. We may not see anything before the season actually gets underway. Doug Wilson may decide to evaluate this team a little bit in the first few weeks of the year, see how things look first. But once the Sharks have a few games under their belt against some of their division rivals, it would not surprise me at all to see them go after one of these big names, like I mentioned, like a Panarin or a Karlsson. They certainly have the ability to get it done. Speaking of the Sharks and players they may go after, obviously this involves players from the Blue Jackets as well as the Senators. So let's just update a few other things quickly on those teams here before we move on to the next team and subject. So jumping over to the Columbus Blue Jackets here, I did come across an article where their general manager was interviewed and asked about Panarin as well as goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky. Obviously they're both entering the final year of their contracts, and they're both been names that have been mentioned in the trade rumors. Obviously Panarin for different reasons, but the one thing with Bobrovsky that was mentioned before was that he is apparently looking for a fairly hefty raise and might be looking for money similar to what Montreal Canadiens are paying goaltender Carey Price. Obviously, that might prove to be a little bit too rich for the Blue Jackets' blood, and as much as they love Bobrovsky and what he brings to that team, they very well may look to move him if they can't come to terms on a more fair contract for them. So I guess we'll see how things go here with Bobrovsky and Panarin, but there's certainly guys to keep your eye on for sure. Then the general manager was asked if we should expect the team to open training camp with those guys on the roster. He was very non-committal and said he could not guarantee anything. So it does sound like they are having active discussions around both players. Doesn't mean a deal is going to happen for sure. He's going to do what's best for his team, and if he feels he's at risk of losing either or both players through free agency, then it is wise for him to be exploring some trades. So we may or may not get anything imminent here with the Blue Jackets, but obviously where Kekalina was so non-committal to opening camp in the season with these guys on the roster, anything is possible here. Anything can happen. So the Blue Jackets, again, are another team to keep your eye on. Speaking of the Ottawa Senators, it certainly is possible that we still might see them trade their captain. It's been really hard to tell what's really going on in Ottawa lately. There's been so much speculation about Erik Karlsson over the summer. We've had 3 or 4 or 5 multiple times here where we thought a trade was imminent to various teams. We've seen the Stars, the Golden Knights, the Tampa Bay Lightning. At some points in times, we've had different media sources lead us to believe that a deal was going down and it was so close, but it has never come to be. At this point in time, it certainly seems as though the Ottawa Senators are prepared to open the season with Erik Karlsson, and he's prepared to do the same thing. So I would not be surprised to see this drag on a little bit longer. One other quick note here on Ottawa, I did see a quick note here as well, indicating that there appears to be very little appetite, which is not shocking, for Bobby Ryan. Now, as we know, at some points in time here, it's been speculated that the Senators were trying to package Bobby Ryan with Erik Karlsson and trade, that if they want to trade for Karlsson, they had to take Ryan's contract as well. He still has 4 years left at $7.25 million. So obviously that's not very attractive. The Senators could choose to retain some salary to make it a little bit more of an option for some teams, but there are very few teams that right now have that cap space availability to take on a bad contract and as well as give you some decent assets in return for Karlsson. So at this point in time, it looks as though there's very little appetite around the league for a Karlsson-Ryan combo or Bobby Ryan on his own. So it looks as though Ottawa is stuck with Ryan's contract and he won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Let's jump over here and take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers. Now the Flyers right now have some injuries on their blue line, and there has been some speculation around will they make a move either via trade or potentially bring in a veteran defenseman on a short-term deal to get them through the early part of the season until some of these guys get healthy. Obviously, we already know defenseman Samuel Morin is going to be out until early in the new year, probably January or February, with a knee injury. And now it's been reported that defenseman Andrew McDonald will be out approximately 6 weeks due to another injury suffered here during off-season training. So obviously that leaves their blue line a little bit thin. There is some concern that the prospect defenseman Philippe Myers may not be quite ready. Obviously, he does have a pro season under his belt, but I think they would prefer to have him play a little bit longer in the American Hockey League before they give him that much time and action at the NHL level. So I've seen a lot of speculation around the Flyers maybe bringing in one of the veteran defensemen that they could consider signing on a shorter term deal, maybe like a Kevin Bieksa or a Johnny Oduya or a Lucas Pisa or a Paul Martin or players like that who are looking for short term contracts right now. That is a possibility, but I wouldn't completely rule out the fact that they very well may stand pat here. I did see some comments from General Manager Ron Hextall indicating that with other defensemen like Gostisbehere and Provorov having more experience and being able to play more minutes, you have other defensemen like Robert Hagg under his belt. You still got Gudas as well. Sanheim's in the lineup, so I mean they're really not all that short. They very well could give Philippe Myers a little bit of time. So based on Hextall's comments, I would not be shocked if they decide not to make a move here and kind of ride out this time until McDonald comes back first and then Morin into the new year. Obviously, if they do run into any other further injuries during the training period or during the preseason here, it might force Hextall's hand to bring in a veteran defenseman either via trade or free agency. I would think that if he had to make a move of some sort, more than likely he would go in to the UFA pool and try to bring in one of those veteran defensemen on a short-term cheap contract. That would be the most likely scenario. Hextall has proven to be a very good general manager for the Flyers, and I don't see him giving up too much there for short-term injuries early in the season. So I'd love to hear your comments down below. Do you think the San Jose Sharks are going to be in here for a big move to kind of keep up with their competition in their division? Obviously, we've seen a lot of stuff happen in the Pacific Division this year, and the Sharks might need to do something here just to make sure they keep up and remain one of the strongest teams in that division. Also, we still have lots of other big names on the market like Karlsson and Panarin and Bobrovsky, etc. So could we potentially see some more big trades here as we get ready for training camps to open or between now and the time the season gets underway? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. At least it's something fun to talk about here as we finally get some action on the trade front. If you're new to the channel here, hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.